At the peak of King Moon Mountain, a golden axe cuts wood. Surrounded by gigantic piles of wood, the man remarks that he has cut a lot today as well. He glances to the side and a system window appears, stating that he has already cut 3.65 million pieces of wood. He is impressed by the amount but seems unconcerned. Obviously, he is a transmigrator from Earth. He became famous when he was young because of a talent show. However, because he refused to obey the agency's rules, he was abandoned and fell into depression. After that, he was reincarnated as a teacher of runic seals. He knew he was transmigrated and expected to receive a system to live a good life. But what he received was a woodcutting system that only asks him to cut wood. He is basically the god of woodcutting, but in terms of power, he doesn't seem very strong. Someone flies by, calling for the Great Master Bai. The person lands on the pile, destroying his wood, and informs him that the boss has summoned him because the palace examination has started. Bai acknowledges and the person jumps off, destroying his wood again, saying he'll wait for him there. The poor guy knows this is an examination to receive disciples. However, with his potential, no one will want to be his disciple. As he is hungry, he first checks if the creature from the abyss has fattened up. Meanwhile, at the inscription palace, a line forms. Some guys praise the man in the purple robe because he has received over 500 disciples this year. On the other hand, the professor of runic seals hasn't even appeared. That is an important position, so the guys are angry, especially since he hasn't received a disciple in 10 years. He turns to the director and says he wants to remove the position that belongs to Bai Lushan since he hasn't received any disciples. But the old man reminds him not to forget. The boy lost all the power he had protecting the academy. The director's name is Lei Guanqi. They are speechless for a second. But the swordsmanship trainer says they can't forget what the guy did, but he is no longer necessary as a professor. Another one suggests removing his title as a professor and letting him live on King Moon Mountain. People seem to like the idea, saying it's a great plan. Then someone says that everyone thinks too much about him. It's Bai Lushan himself, saying he feels touched by so much affection. Hemming approaches and says that he hurt himself too much just to hunt a small snake like that. Bai explains that this creature had some power and almost killed him. People laugh, saying he has a sense of humor, suggesting that a simple snake could have any kind of power. However, a girl seems anxious about something. From the stake that Bai Lushan is holding, a red aura is emanating. Hemming says he is very injured and asks if he wants those healing pills, pointing to the line of disciples, saying if he receives one, he will give them to him. But then he gets close and says that if he doesn't receive any, he will have to give up his position. Our guy ignores him, saying he doesn't care about these games and that he probably won't receive any anyway. However, the guy says he won't leave it like that. He turns to the director again and asks to remove the guy's position because he is weak and doesn't care about disciples. Pointing to Bai, he says that guy must lose his position. Although the director is thoughtful, the others seem to agree that he no longer deserves that position. He then asks the protagonist what he thinks about it. He says it's not such a bad idea, at least he won't have to do anything. All he wants is to stay on King Moon Mountain. But the people, obviously, after he loses his position, will want to take it from him. The director then announces that because Bai Lushan has not accepted a disciple in the last 10 years and also because he is so weak, he is no longer qualified to be a professor. Suddenly someone yells to wait. Everyone turns to see who it is. Very circular, she says she is willing to study and learn about runic seals with Professor Bai. Everyone in the place starts shouting, saying it's a waste. They tell her she doesn't even understand what she's saying properly. Bai Lushan is a trash who doesn't have the ability to teach anything at all. The guy from the sword department makes an offer and says that if she joins them, he will give her the highest position she can get. Bai descended the mountains, but down here, he found a few more. She grabs his arm and begs him to teach her, but he says it's too sudden and refuses. While the sword guy is angry that she refused him, the two of them are going back and forth. He starts to think that the two of them are together, and it's just a plan to make him increase his offer to her. He points to the two and says their plan is very treacherous, and he is not that stupid. He tells the director that he prefers Bai Lushan to stay with the girl. She grabs him all reluctant, but the poor guy was not in the mood for this. He asks her why she wanted to see him as a teacher since he is so weak. Guys, this cutie on the screen was another life of hers because she is an immortal reincarnate. At the end of her past life, she chose to reincarnate because she did not achieve the strength she wanted. She knows that with her beauty and talent, she would receive at least 80% of the sword department's resources. She just didn't expect at the last minute to find a true master. She says that with her immortal eyes, she is sure that Snake was about to become a dragon. Even at the peak strength of her past life, she is not sure she would win against such a creature. So how did this guy with no strength at all win? The old man then coughs and says he is going to make an announcement. Before Bai Lushan can say anything, the disciple is already officially transferred to him. The old man says he helped him a lot, but Bai is angry. He did not want to have a junior. With that, the meeting is over. Hemming praised the protagonist and said he was sure she would do very well in the academy exam in 3 months. He goes away laughing like an idiot, and Bai thinks the guy must have hit his head. Bai asks her name and she says it is Su Liu. The poor guy thinks that if he knew he was going to get an apprentice, he wouldn't have come here today. And with that, they leave with him thinking he doesn't have much to do besides giving some tips, since in the end, it all depends on her talent. Back on Mount King Moon, Liu observes the piles of wood and wonders why he lets people mock him if he seems strong. He then calls for her and says there are a few things he needs to make clear. First, in the department of Ruinias, there are no planned lessons since it is all about personal determination. Second, he doesn't want to know where she goes or what she is doing. Third, as she can see, he doesn't have many resources to increase her strength. But she doesn't need to worry because as his apprentice, he won't let her starve. And fourth, he doesn't know what the fourth is yet, but does she have any questions? She says she doesn't have any. He throws 2 books and tells her to pay close attention. The first is a textbook on Ruinias and is quite difficult. The second is an exercise for her practice, but she should take it easy and not try to progress too quickly. She shouldn't be lazy because occasionally he will check her progress. She thanks him, saying she will remember all of this. He points to the side, saying she can choose any room she wants to stay in. Seeing the dilapidated house, she already wonders if she made the right choice. He goes to cook the snake while she thinks she has to resist to get stronger. The boy's hand is like a knife. He tears the snake in half and puts it on a skewer. He makes a fire with his finger and lights the barbecue. From inside one of the houses, she smells the delicious aroma. She opens the window and sees him frying the whole dragon, a type of meat that he usually have to give to the patriarchs. But there he is, the rascal, just fried and ate it. It's not even breaded. Are you already salivating? Even though she has lived for over 1,000 years, she has never eaten dragon meat. So she calls out to him and says she's getting a little hungry. Can she have a little meat? No. Obviously, he refuses. The poor girl is embarrassed. She never imagined she would suffer such humiliation for food. She makes a crying face but says it won't do any good. With that, she turns, saying the master is very stingy. But he tells her to wait. She turns around asking if she can eat a little bit now. He takes a small twig and pulls off a tiny piece for her. And it's not even to eat, just to lick. She approaches, a bit angry but curious to try it. He says he doesn't like being called stingy, and when she tastes it, she understands why. She makes a face, but then is shocked. The amount of energy in a piece of dragon meat is too much for her. She realizes instantly that she couldn't handle it. If she had actually eaten a bigger piece, she would have destroyed her own body. She then thanks the master for his generosity. He advises that a little lick a day is more than enough, and she says she will remember that. With that, night falls, and at the entrance of the mountain, several guys prepare to invade. The guys came to steal Master Bai's horse. They jump over a wall, and one of them asks if just the 2 of them are enough. The guy shows a vial, saying it's the poison that makes you drunk for 1,000 years. Then he tells them to be quiet. Bai is passing by with hay. He throws it for the horse to eat, thinking about how small it was when he found it. The horse comes all sweet and nuzzles him while he says goodnight. He then leaves and extinguishes the candle, but the guys are confident they will succeed. In front of the horse, they say that it should belong to the beast department. A few minutes earlier, Liu was studying the books he had given her. Suddenly, she closed them and wondered who was bold enough to come there in the middle of the night. She left her room saying she would teach them a lesson. The guy was pouring the poison into the horse's water, planning to make it drunk and easy to take. When Liu appeared, asking what they were doing there, the guys recognized her as the crazy girl who left the sword department to stay with Bai Lushan. They then say it has nothing to do with her and she should go back to sleep. However, she warns them to forget about stealing anything from the master while she is there. The guy decides he will have to handle it the hard way and moves towards her. The rascal comes with his tongue out, saying not to blame him for this, but she's just standing there observing. As soon as he tries to grab her, she dodges. She extends her leg and hits him right in the chin, with the strength that even I got knocked. The poor guy is thrown to the ground. His friend helps, asking if he's okay. The guy spits blood, saying the girl is stronger than he imagined. He summons a Dragon Ball's aura and tells his friend to help, as they will take care of her now. He moves towards her with his hand on fire, but now Liu also advances. The trash goes with fire technique. She comes with a kick, hitting him in the ribs. He rolls away like trash and ends up cursed. She continues, clearly very strong, posing a real danger. The guy starts to draw his blade, saying he will solve this. Meanwhile, Bai Lushan is sleeping peacefully. He wakes up and sees everything happening outside. Clearly exhausted, he decides to ignore it. A surge of energy covers the mountains. Liu defeats the guy with a simple blow. She realizes that the dome isolates sound in the area, then gets excited, saying that it seems the master doesn't want to let them escape either. Now the poor guys are scared to death. At the same night, the master of the beast department is furious. His 2 students came to tell him that Bai Lushan's new junior is very strong. The master gives them potions to recover. They thank him and he says he will take care of it for them. He then calls everyone from the beast department to King Moon Mountain. They are going to seek justice for this. However, on the way, a guy says they should wait. They have to remember that Bai Lushan is still an instructor and that they were the ones who started this problem. The master says he doesn't care because that horse belongs to them. The guy suggests seeing things differently, advising that the best thing to do is to say that Bai Lushan's disciples beat up his students. The master seems to agree, and they decide to speak with those responsible for enforcing the laws there. But another day dawned. The lazy Bai woke up around 1 in the afternoon. Liu said good morning, but she clearly hadn't slept well. He asks if she woke up early and how the book reading went last night. She, all embarrassed, doesn't really know what to say. Almost half of her body's energy was used just to read half a page of that book. She tried to persist but couldn't manage anything more. Bai Lushan says that what she accomplished was sufficient and asks how much she read. She feels embarrassed, saying she understands. Then, as he swings his axe, she informs him that she read half a page. He turns around and asks what she means by that, questioning if she really read half a page in one night. She apologizes, saying she feels disappointed, but he says it was actually an incredible surprise. He thought she would only be able to read a few of the first words. Embarrassed, she asks if the master really thought she was that stupid. He says that's not the case and that he is genuinely happy with this news. The knowledge in that book is something he has accumulated over a long time, so for her to read half a page in one night was amazing. He gives her an item saying that knowledge is necessary, but she doesn't need to rush. With that token, she can go to the Academy's library. As her token improves, she will be able to access even better manuscripts. Sai Liu asks how to level up the token. He explains that there is a place where she can take on missions for apprentices or she can participate in the test. She thanks him, saying she understands it well. However, in her mind, that chief's book is much more important than this token. She has been an immortal for a long time, so to her, that token is trash and she kicks it away. All she wants for the rest of her life is just the master's manuscripts. She notices the master is thoughtful and asks what the problem is. Someone yells from below, calling for the disciple of Mount Kinmu named Sai Liu to come down and accept her punishment. She says it must be the people related to the guys she beat up last night, and apologizes, saying she couldn't hold back much. He tells her not to worry, to leave it to him, and to study hard. He will go check it out below, and she agrees. At the entrance of Mount Kinmu, there is an army, and the two went down to see what it was about. The guys in white robes were those who enforced the laws in this world and demanded that the professor hand over the disciple Sai Liu now. Bai Lushan was more impressed with the crowd of people and calmly walked through everyone. The guy who had used the trembolone said the evidence was clear and she should go with him soon. However, Bai put the axe on the ground and said he wanted to ask something. Did they know about the other two disciples who invaded their place last night? Looking at the master of the beast department, the master said they accidentally appeared in that place and were beaten up. Obviously, the word accidentally is not something Bai liked. So he turns, saying that accidentally Miss Sai Liu beat them up too. No need to worry. They start to retreat, but Xiang Sheng says if he persists, things won't go well for him. Bai Lushan just looks back and asks what he's going to do. Then the guy starts trembling, right? He starts shouting, asking the senior if they see how he's acting. And on top of that, the guy is covering up a crime, which is worse. They need to arrest Bai Lushan's disciple now. The two guys descend in front of Bai. Xiang Sheng warns that anyone who goes against the law will not fare well in this place. However, Bai Lushan says they are just a bunch of kids and do not represent the Hall of Law. The guy draws his blade, saying he and his disciple will be punished today. He moves forward and tells his friend to follow. Xiang Sheng is confident because for the last 10 years, all Bai Lushan has been doing is cutting wood. It's ridiculous that trash like him goes against the Hall of Law. Bai Lushan pushes Sai Liu and says this is a test for her, and she should not disappoint. Alone, she advances towards the two. She smiles, and will there be a strong kick? First, she crouches, dodging the first cut. The guy tries to hit her from the side, but she disappears in a blur. Now she says she understands that these two are too weak to fight against the master. Easily, she continues to dodge each of their attacks, while smiling, saying she is sure she will grow much stronger by his side. Suddenly, something blue appears in her hand, and the guy wonders what she is doing. He quickly realizes she was drawing runes. The guy is impressed. To use a rune in combat, you draw it before, not in the middle of the battle. Seeing this, the other guy gets angry, thinking she's underestimating them. He tells his friend that they should use their special move and sends a green slash in her direction. She takes a step back and dodges it. Meanwhile, the other guy is above, saying they will interrupt her process. He delivers a slash that summons a green dragon and tells her to go to hell. She activates a power in her fingers and says they are nothing special. The dragon collides with her energy. She blocks the attack, which causes an explosion on the mountain. The explosion is so intense that no one can see anything, and they wonder if it worked. However, she is there calmly with energy spheres, saying it's time to get serious. She sends two electric birds in their direction. Seeing the birds, the guys are in disbelief. Bai Lushan is thinking that he has the power of the wooden snake, but cannot give it to her yet. She finishes everything while he thinks he needs to find something related to thunder to give to her. The guy on the ground calls out to Xiang Sheng. He says they came here because of him and orders him to do something. Sweet and cold, Xiang Sheng gets angry for being called out right when they were defeated. If the two do not defeat the girl, he has no chance at all. However, she has no patience and sends an attack in his direction that hits him right in the chest. He falls to his knees, wondering how she threw him back like that. Bai just tells her to step back. One of them gets up, saying that going against those who enforce the law is a grave crime. He will surely regret this. However, our lazy protagonist says that the ones who will regret it are the three of them. The guy asks what he's going to do. He orders everyone to kneel. The guys feel some kind of energy in their chests, and instantly everyone kneels. The energy covers the entire mountain. Lying on the ground, the guy wonders how someone who seems to have no power can do something like this. Bai tells them not to come back, and one of them says he has regained the energy he had 10 years ago. Another hits the ground saying it's impossible. He must be using someone else's energy. Suddenly, he receives a spiritual connection from someone called Elder 2. The guy spits blood instantly and flies away. He tells Shang to stay there kneeling until Master Yu comes personally to speak with him. The guy then announces to the leader that Shang is still kneeling at Mount King Moon. The old man named Shang Kung tells the guys to rest, saying he will handle it. The guys leave smiling, confident that Bai will lose. Shang Kung calls one of his disciples to go to Mount King Moon. Bai Lushan is already tired, it's already noon, and no one has shown up. He leaves the food and goes to see Sai Liu practicing runes. She senses something approaching, breaks one in her hand, breaks one in her leg, and as always practices with great dense force. Our boy praises her, saying she's very quiet when attacking. He tells her he is going out, and that if someone from the beast department arrives, she should use this seal. And with that, he leaves, saying he will be back in the morning. Our protagonist knows the geography of this place very well. He knows that in all the important points you can find powerful demons. He lands thinking he will need some ancestral material for her. Seeing that the region is constantly struck by lightning, he knows there is a thunder demon around. From the top of the mountain, he notices a very dense, healthy girl running from something. He imagines she is one of the Academy's disciples and is strangely being attacked by energy spheres. An explosion goes off in the forest and he thinks there is always trouble. He prepares a patrol and says he will take a look. Down below, the girl drenched in oil is exhausted and someone says her energy is depleted. The guy in front tells her to stop running because the fun they have planned for her won't be that bad. Angry, she tells him to keep dreaming. However, he says that because she is from the arts department, she is just a pet of the academy. She touches her own forehead, saying she would rather die than let this happen. Suddenly, he grabs her head. On the ground, she realizes her powers are sealed. The guy says her facial skin is very soft. He is sure it will be worth it. The poor girl is in disbelief that her fate will end like this. Suddenly, she hears someone telling her to hit a certain point on him. At that moment, she felt she could move. The guy realized he couldn't move and got hit right in the chest. A lightning bolt cut through his belly, and he was thrown to the other side. It created a crater in the poor guy. Even she was in disbelief at this power. The guy's friend ran over to see what had happened. Meanwhile, she was thanking the air as he was invisible, wondering why she was so foolish. The servant got angry, saying he would make her pay for that. She didn't retreat and told him to come, but she was insecure since she had no energy. The guy ran toward her, saying he knew she couldn't defend herself. But the lazy guy told her to take a step back and hit him right in the kidney. She got confused and did it all wrong. The guy went to finish her off, and just as he was about to strike her neck, Bai snapped his fingers and trapped him in a formation. He told her to kill him quickly. She didn't know where Bai was but asked if she could ask a few questions before finishing him off. The guy trapped said there was no need to ask. The person she was looking for had exploded their own spiritual energy and fled. She was in disbelief, but the guy said she was probably being eaten by insects in the Kangal Abyss. He warned that if he died, the formless border sect would hunt her down. Suddenly, the two of them were startled. Bai Lushan appeared, asking about this sect and why he had been sent. The guy recognized him and Bai asked if he was that famous. The girl knew that he was the useless Bai Lushan from the academy. Our protagonist said he didn't have time and told the guy to speak, but he refused. So he just told the guy to die, and in disbelief, he exploded. The girl angrily asked how they would find her older sister now that he had killed him. However, he told her to calm down, saying there was a way to resolve it. He asked if she had anything that belonged to her master, and she handed over a handkerchief. With that, he gave it to the bird and told it to find her. The bird entered a cave and found the master of the oiled-up body sect in a weakened state. She knew that by destroying her own energy, that place would be her tomb. Reaching out to the sky, she just wanted to know if Yunru was safe. At that moment, someone called out to her. She was startled and asked if it was Yunru. Up above was the protagonist, saying she was very injured. Yunru wanted to jump down, but he told her not to rush, that he would handle it. He invoked a talisman, and she appeared impressed. A blue energy descended into the cave and moved towards the girl. Bubbles formed, lifting her out of the cave. Up above, they hugged each other, happy to be reunited. Both thanked Bai Lushan. He took a pearl from his necklace and told her to heal with it. It had been the reward he got from the idiot in the sword department. She tried to refuse, saying it was too much, but he said her recovery was more important. The master was hesitant, but the disciple accepted on her behalf. With great force and squishy persistence, she helped her eat it. As soon as she ate it, a green energy surrounded her, and she realized all her wounds were healing. She thanked him, saying she owed him, but Bai just said she shouldn't be there with the strength she had. Why were both of them in the Kangal Abyss? They stared at each other, not knowing what to say. Meanwhile, Sai Liu had just finished reading the first page and was exhausted. She thought about going to sleep when she realized someone was coming to cause trouble again. A formation passed over the place. In the sky, Shen Kang appeared, saying he came to deliver the punishment they deserved. While Bai was lecturing the two about going to such a dangerous place, the master explained that she was hunting for materials and ended up lost there. However, Bai Lushan didn't believe this story of being lost. She explained she was hunting a snow cicada, but the people from the Void sect were also hunting it. Bai thought it didn't make sense for them to be hunting something like that. but he imagined it must be a very strong, dense, circular, perky cicada in every sense, which is why they were after it. Hugh asked what he was going to do, and he replied he would hunt the cicada since it also had some electrical attribute status. He left, telling them to practice while they were envious, saying his apprentice was very lucky. Meanwhile, on the mountain, Shen Kang was shouting for Bai Lushan to come out. Wide-hipped babes stepped out and greeted him, but informed him that Bai Lushan was not present. Kong ordered her to kneel, but she simply said that he was neither a relative nor a master, so why should she do that? Shen Kong said that as an elder, she should kneel, or perhaps that crippled master of hers didn't teach her. Already getting annoyed, she retorted that there were no such rules here and her master wasn't crippled. He should watch what he says. The vice president got angry and asked how she dared to lecture him. He extended his hand and told her to kneel. A palm of energy surged towards her, crushing the ground, but she seemed to be resisting with her aura. Bleeding from her eyes and mouth, she declared that the disciple hadn't done anything wrong, so she wouldn't kneel. The old man, impressed by her courage, said they would see how much she could endure and sent a barrage of energy palms. But he was confused. Down below, amidst the barrage, she was radiating a Dragon Ball Z-like aura. She was suffering, yet strong and beautiful. What a combination! The old man realized she was burning her own energy just to avoid kneeling. Truly insane, just like that Bai Lushan. And because of this, they needed to get rid of her. He then pointed to Wenhai next to him and told him to kill her, but the guy hesitated. The old man asked why he was refusing a direct order, but the boy said her crime didn't warrant death. Styliu smiled, saying that the old man at least had a reasonable disciple. The guy then approached her and said his master valued reputation. If she could kneel, it would all be resolved, and it wasn't worth losing her life just to avoid kneeling to an elder. Styliu said she never imagined one of the most powerful sects would have such a worthless master. The guy drew a blade and asked why she was making things difficult, but she smiled, saying she wasn't in the mood for this stupid talk, and if he wanted her dead, he should come at her. The guy raised his hands to the sky and apologized, while she was preparing something behind her, thinking that he would be the one needing to apologize. Suddenly, the horse appeared next to the guy and headbutted him. Boy, he was blasted into the wall. The poor guy was shattered. This wasn't part of her plan, even she was surprised. Shen Kong said now it was clear why everyone wanted that horse. The beast had a purple aura stronger than the guy's. They even stood in front of Styliu to protect her. The old man conjured a rope made of aura and told the horse to stay quiet in the corner. He ricked it, saying it was best to be prepared because now it was his too. With that, he began to pull Blackie while Styliu called out to him. The horse stomped the ground and stood face to face with the elder. He said it was a stupid animal and told it to die. And indeed, he punched it so hard the horse coughed and its core shattered. Styliu, with tears in her eyes, watched everything. Poor Blackie was shattered on the ground. The poor thing had a hole in its belly. Styliu, in disbelief, told the old man he was a piece of human trash, who would pay 100 times for this. The old man descended from the skies and approached her, saying today was her last day on Earth. Styliu took the chance and approached, activating her fairy wheel specialty. Face to face, she knew she had to finish it with this attack and delivered a stellar slash. The attack hit the master directly. Even though it was on the neck he had prepared. With his protective treasure, he wouldn't die, but it made him realize how dangerous she was. Exhausted, Styliu realized her power was gone. The old man whipped her again and captured her. He pulled her by the neck. Choking, she warned that her master wouldn't let him leave alive. But the old man smiled, saying he was here to kill Bai Lushan, so it was better if he appeared. Suddenly, Blackie rose but fell again, and Styliu told him not to try anything, while Styliu could only call out for her master. Then she remembered the talisman he gave her, and now she had just stuck it on the old man's arm. The guy laughed, asking what that piece of paper would do. The unique seal activated and created a whirlwind on his arm. As soon as the talisman exploded, it threw him backward, causing him to release Styliu. In front of her, a spiritual bird emerged. Shen Kong was about to ask what the hell that was when the bird was already at his back. He couldn't react and got hit hard. The creature raised its arms and exploded the entire field. At the center of the explosion was his hand with the broken talisman. His disciple approached, asking if he was okay, but the man was battered. The disciple quickly lifted the master, saying they needed to treat him immediately. However, the master consumed recovery pills and declared he would finish off that girl. His aura increased and he vowed he would not lose to a little girl. He jumped towards Styliu, declaring that she would die now. Facing him, she realized this might be the end of her second life. However, she wondered why her master was taking so long. Suddenly, Shen Kong was frozen in place with a fiery aura in front of him. His hand was being held by something. The old man couldn't break free. It was an illusion created by Bai Lushan while he was treating Styliu. Raising his arms, he said that the old man was used to attacking a disciple while he wasn't around. The clone crushed the guy's head, and Bai called him despicable. With that, the guy was crushed, turning into a pool of blood. Disfigured on the ground, he wondered how, being one of the 5 strongest in the academy, he was being destroyed by this crippled guy. The boy beside him watched the destruction and ran towards Bai, asking him to stop. However, Bai summoned a golden bell that appeared around the boy and trapped him. Inside the bell, he could only watch his master being pulverized. Shen Kong was being healed and then immediately beaten. Clearly, this was just an attempt to humiliate him. The blows continued to explode on the surrounding mountains. After a while, the boy fell out of the bell. The clone came and announced that to avoid causing the end of the academy today, he would spare the old man's life. He tossed him a pill and told him to leave the mountain now. The defeated old man asked for a regeneration pill. The boy took one out of his pocket and handed it to him. As soon as he consumed it, he was healed. He claimed he only lost to the cripple because he was caught off guard and asked the boy for another item. Meanwhile, Sai Liu was apologizing for not being able to protect the sect. Even the horse was hurt because of her. Bai said it was okay and wanted to repair her body. Suddenly, from his spatial ring, the man pulled out a giant griffin. He threw it towards Bai Lushan, telling him to die with that. From the pouch at Bai Lushan's waist, something shone. With electric eyes, it stared at the griffin, which instantly got scared and flew away. The old man ordered it to come back. Suddenly, the girls from the Oil of Body sect arrived at the scene. Bai asked them to take care of his disciple. He said that for many years he had been living on this peak without bothering anyone. However, they had the audacity to harm one of his disciples. The old man saw that Bai had activated the blood-melting curse and asked if he was crazy. He tried to flee, knowing that if that curse touched him, he would turn into a pool of blood. But at that moment, Bai's clone was beside him, while the old man thought he didn't want to die there. With a massive punch to the face, he was sent back to the sect. He lay disfigured on the ground, begging not to be killed and saying that Bai Lushan would be judged if he did that. However, Bai said that here he was the judgment and threw the blood curse seal at him. From the black energy, various souls emerged, driving the old man towards them. The lazy rascal had taken so long to arrive because he was waiting for her to activate the seal that served as his signal. The boy was speechless. His master had turned into a jelly of blood. Bai snapped his fingers, and all that was left of the man was a condensed residue. The girls felt disgusted, saying the master was vicious. The boy knelt and Bai said he didn't want to do it. The guy forced his hand. He asked him to wait, but Bai just crossed his fingers, and with that, something was ripped from the boy. He lost about 7 years worth of hair that he had grown. Bai walked away saying that this would be his lesson, and that it would be good to remove that guy who has been kneeling at the gate all this time. With that, Bai went to talk to his disciple while being watched. Shul mentioned it was better for them to leave and not get too involved in this matter. They thanked him for his help, and he told them to come by whenever they wanted. However, Sai Liu thought they would probably come by all the time. Once again, Bai snapped his fingers, and a sort of bloody bird was watching them. Bai Lushan just stared at it and destroyed the bird in the sky. She asked what it was, and he warned her that someone was observing. In a cave, an old man was crying, saying that Bai Lushan didn't leave even a single hair intact on his nephew. He told the boy behind him that he knew very well what to do in the next test. The boy said he understood perfectly. That was the head of the department that enforced the laws. Meanwhile, Bai Lushan told Sai Liu that he had brought something for her. A giant white creature appeared, and he said it was a snow cicada still in its larval form. He mentioned that he went out to hunt for a catalyst but got lucky and found this instead. She was impressed that the creature, which was extremely powerful, was so docile in front of him. Bai was petting it, saying it also had an electric power and would help when they formed a contract. Sai Liu was emotional because in her entire past life, she never had something like this. She thanked her master eagerly. He said he hoped she would do very well in the academy test, and she assured him he didn't need to worry. Looking at the cicada, he said it would be very easy for her, especially if she took this little creature. Sai Liu asked if she could take something like this to the test. Bai said yes, he could reduce its power to within acceptable limits. She was afraid the cicada would refuse to have its power reduced, but Bai activated his powers and said it might hurt a bit. The cicada formed a cocoon around itself. At that moment, Sai Liu realized the creature's power was increasing. The cocoon formed completely and he said it was done. It slowly opened and something emerged. You know what's coming. She was emotional and what came out was a cicada. Guys, it was brimming with combat power and an incredible dense strength. The cicada introduced itself as Iceland and said she hoped to get along well with Sai Liu. Sai Liu was gushing over how cute Iceland was, saying she never imagined a demon could be so adorable. Iceland then asked if she had ever met other powerful demons. That's when Sai Liu realized she had said too much and revealed secrets. So she made up a story about some random creatures. She looked at Bai to see if he was paying attention, but he was more interested in the system. However, something wasn't working. He told Iceland to help the girl, who said he could count on her. He said it was late, and he was going to sleep, and the loving cicada smiled, wishing him good night. He was thinking about the fact that people from the sects were looking for a jade that the cicada was guarding, but not even the system could assist her. Suddenly, the system appeared and gave him a mission for his apprentice to take first place in the competition. Bai was impressed and said he thought the system was just a wooden computer. The system got in his face angrily and asked if he was going to accept the mission or not. He said he would accept that damn mission. It was a pity that the rewards would only be useful for Sai Liu. In the middle of the night, when Bai was sleeping, a girl trapped inside a jade appeared. She said that unfortunately it wasn't enough, but she really wanted to see him again. 5 days later, someone was having a barbecue. The guys passing by were impressed by the smell. Of course, it was Bai. What cheeky reference. Hime asked what he was doing, and he said he was cooking a wild bird. He didn't remember clearly, but a bird appeared, and he killed it. However, Hemming was angry because that was the entrance to the test area. Everyone was saying how good it smelled. Bai continued barbecuing, and the guy told everyone to hurry up and take the test. He walked past Bai and said he was not fit for the title of instructor. The instructors of the Beast Department thought their leaders weren't there because they had gone to train. A short-haired guy was watching Sai Liu with the cicada on her head. He commented that her talent wasn't bad. It was a pity she had affiliated herself with a cripple. He tried to seduce her, but she completely ignored him. She ran over to Bai Lushan, drooling and begging for a piece of the food as always. She kept pleading, but he kept saying no because it had too much spiritual power. Meanwhile, the other guy was seething with anger from being rejected. A man placed his hand on his shoulder. It was the head of the destruction department who told him not to lose his way because of a woman. Then someone called out for everyone to look because the art department had arrived. Wow, the two girls were already dense strong, but the instructor really is a heavyweight when it comes to density. Now the buff guy changed his mind and said it was a coincidence meeting her there. However, she also ignored him and went to talk to Bai, thanking him for saving her disciples. Bai pretended to be clueless, saying he didn't know anything about that. He introduced Sai Liu to her, who was a bit envious of the girl's potential. But now the rejected boys were even angrier. Then someone shouted for everyone to be quiet. It was the old man who was about to announce the missions, saying everything would take place in a secret realm. The time limit was 2 days, and the ranking would be decided by the number of points each person accumulated. Besides hunting treasures and killing creatures, they could also steal points from each other. However, it was forbidden to put any other competitor's life at risk. And that was all. He announced they could start now. People started sending their disciples. Sai Liu said she was going too. But seeing Moon Xuanqiu clinging to Bai, she didn't really want to go. Moon whispered in his ear, asking if he wasn't worried about his disciple. With his dark gaze, he said he was confident she had enormous potential. She left with great determination. Inside the realm, a guy was running scared. He was saying that everyone said the talisman department was trash, so why was she so strong? Another one was defeated. Another person on the ground was asking for help. But once again, Sai Liu was stealing everyone's talismans. The problem was she was still ranked 47th, even though she had eliminated 6 people. She was angry and squeezed Iceland, asking her to say something. Iceland appeared, begging not to be crushed, and said that Bai had asked her to pretend to be a normal spirit. Sai Liu said she understood, but there was a talisman on her back. Someone was holding a frog, and 2 hooded guys said they had found her. Meanwhile, at the academy, everyone was watching the fights. Many people were watching Sai Liu destroying everyone and wondered how she was so strong. Moon asked Bai if he wasn't afraid of her acting with such arrogance, and he said only the weak are afraid of that. Those who truly have power find strength in their own confidence. Moon said he hadn't changed at all. He was still the same Bai Lushan who saved the world 10 years ago. He said she must be imagining things. Suddenly, someone rang a bell, and the screen showing the images stopped working. The elders said they would try to figure out what was happening, but one of the boys warned that there was a problem with spiritual powers. Others were entering to help and see what was going on, and something entered there. It was Bai's spirit saying that apparently some people still hadn't given up. Inside, Sai Liu was fighting. A highly dangerous, dense enemy said she was a very talented girl. 2 people from the reinforcement hall said she had offended someone she shouldn't have. But Sai Liu didn't back down and said they shouldn't think they could do whatever they wanted at the academy. A guy named Lucio sent a slash with a purple blade. She realized her light was being easily split. Both of them advanced towards her. Seeing herself surrounded, she knew she didn't have the strength to defeat them, but she also couldn't escape. She then asked the cicada for help, saying she couldn't lose her power again. At that moment, the girl from the reinforcement hall received a blast of energy. Lucio tried to protect himself, but the power consumed his sword. All of this was from a breath of the cicada, who appeared with a forbidden, dense strength on all platforms. The guys realized her power and were warned to leave or they would die. With that, everyone retreated. Thank God she transformed back. Otherwise, I'd have to eat sand with water this month. She pointed in a direction, telling them to go get the treasure. The girl from the reinforcement hall was frozen in place. Apparently, he was trying to free her, knowing he would need her help. But then he felt something. Someone said that the people from the reinforcement hall had tried to assassinate another competitor. It was Bai's clone, saying they'd better be ready to go to the next life. In the sky, a giant deformed eye was watching everything. Bai said it was because of them that he had to be so ruthless. He used a type of talisman that attacked whoever was controlling it. The guy in the cave spat blood immediately. His followers tried to help, asking what was happening. The fool who dunked his head in the red ink bucket wondered how much of his strength Bai Lushan had recovered. Inside the treasure cave, Sai Liu and the cicada were lost, unable to find the way. Sai Liu was being scolded for having no sense of direction. She turned to complain to the cicada, but the cicada had to use a power to freeze some creatures behind them, warning her to be more careful. Even though those creatures seemed weak, they would drain all her energy. That's when Sai Liu realized that if there were creatures with high energy, there was a treasure nearby. She destroyed the barrier, and they found the gate leading to the treasures. Sai Liu said she was hesitant and thought it was better to go back. But the cicada said with her there was nothing to worry about and sent 2 attacks towards the door, causing an explosion. Now all they had to do was go in and get the treasure. But actually, it did nothing to the door. She got angry and said she would now show her true power, unleashing a barrage of attacks but got exhausted and the thing was still intact. She kept hitting everything until Liu saw a spot to place her hand. As soon as she touched it, the door opened. The cicada was a bit confused but entered, excited, saying they would now find a perfect treasure for her. Liu, on the other hand, thought the place felt a bit familiar. The cicada approached a creature with a purple aura and said it was probably a mechanism to start the inheritance. That's when Liu understood what it was. She remembered a demonic energy from a creature in her past life. It was a seal she had created. She told the cicada not to do it, but she had already struck it with a sword. The purple statue cracked and the tombstone exploded. The entire secret realm started to be consumed by a purple energy. In the forest, strange vines grew. And the observers mentioned that something unusual was happening, saying that from the energy, a demon emperor was emerging in that place. Everyone started running, wondering why there was someone so powerful in a training area. The chief told everyone to stay calm. Then an elder appeared on the screen asking for an explanation of the situation. As soon as he got the information, he sent an army to attack and resolve the issue. Everyone invaded the island. Inside, the students from the oil department were trying to resist the vines. Even Master Moon entered to help. Bai appeared, asking if they had seen his disciple. Chu apologized and said they hadn't seen her. People realized most disciples had been teleported to the entrance. That meant Liu was still trapped inside. The 2 were scared. In front of them, the demon Emperor Thrush said he had returned. He expanded his aura, saying that now the world belonged to him. The cicada defended herself, knowing she could only escape if she abandoned Liu. But how could she tell that to her master? When Thrush saw Liu, he said she was an ant from the human realm. He called her disgusting and attacked again. The cicada protected them and told Liu to hide as she was only getting in the way. Thrush kept attacking and asked why she would protect that human. Iceland smiled and said the human girl was a pet she was raising, so she wanted her to be spared. Liu asked what they were going to do and Iceland said they were going to flee. Suddenly, she hit her and told her she was interrupting their conversation. At the same time, she placed a clone behind her to pull her as far away as possible. However, Thrush observed the situation. He said it was ridiculous, since none of them would escape. Iceland said it was impolite to listen in on a conversation between 2 girls, but Thrush attacked, saying he would take their lives now. She remembered that Bai had given her a talisman, but warned her that using it could be dangerous. She activated it, saying her life was already in the hands of another demon. 3 energy circles emerged from her back and her energy began to increase. Meanwhile, in other parts of the forest, the wooden creatures were killing everyone. As they were attacked on the ground, energy flowed out of them, transforming them into demons. People from the sect started arriving and the transformed attacked immediately. However, the old man killed them with a sword attack. But many other disciples had already been transformed. The old man activated a sword formation and crushed the entire field. He told the sword guy to go save the disciples and flee if he encountered the emperor. The sword guy said he understood but suggested sending Bai back. Bai appeared at that moment and asked what this talk of sending him back was. The guy angrily said that if Bai stayed, he would die like an idiot. But Bai said he was there to save his disciple. The old man said Bai was fragile and it was better not to get involved. However, the head of arts said he had disciples there and would never abandon them. The chief understood and handed him a bird, telling him to flee if he encountered any danger, and Bai thanked him. Himin continued cursing him, but Bai didn't care much and said if anything went wrong, he would collect the bodies. At that moment, an explosion swept through the mountains. A golden energy came from the demon who asked Trigger to attack him. Bai's clone in the sky said the talisman was activated and now the attack would begin. He created a black hole in front of him, saying he would kill all living beings. The demon's entire energy started to be absorbed and the sphere grew. From afar, one could see an explosion in the forest. Meanwhile, Iceland's body was frozen. From her mouth, only a small cocoon fell to the ground. She appeared, crying, saying that Bastard wasn't kidding, but luckily she had a way to preserve her life. A clone called her and they ran to find Liu lying on the ground, with plants growing out of her body. Iceland knew that if she brought Liu with her, she would die because of the curse. But if she fled without her, she would be hunted by Bai. She started remembering everything they went through together and angrily took her, saying that the master better have a solution. The demon emperor was fleeing in the sky. However, a lightning bolt struck him, knocking him to the ground. From the giant carcass, he emerged smaller. Looking at the clone, he said he wanted to know the name because such power shouldn't exist in this world. He saw the clone didn't respond and realized he didn't even deserve to know the creature's name. From afar, someone was watching the fight. It was Himin, scared, and Bai, saying he should join in. He would surely make a big difference. The guy was about to say something about it being impossible when Bai placed a talisman on his forehead, putting him to sleep tied up. The demon realized his energy was depleting and wondered if he would die there again. Suddenly, he was blessed with the energy of the demon king and felt confident he would end the clone now. At that moment, the clone said his time limit was up and would return to the main body. Thrush thought he was trying to escape and attacked, sending him to hell. Bai activated a mandate and a gigantic green sword appeared in the sky. Iceland immediately recognized it as his power. The attack headed toward the demon, consuming all his energy. Suddenly, he disintegrated, becoming small, demanding Bai reveal himself. Bai laughed, saying if he hadn't realized it was a clone by now, he was a fool. He used a talisman, and the demon said it was impossible for someone without power to use that. Bai said just because no one does it doesn't mean it's impossible. The demon's soul continued to be imprisoned and burned. Bai wanted to know why the demon was there and said he would continue until he got the answers. At that moment, Iceland appeared carrying Sai Liu. She threw Sai Liu into Bai's arms and asked him to help her, wanting to know what had happened. Crying, she said it was her fault for not being able to protect Sai Liu from that demon. Bai was furious and said he no longer wanted any answers. He accelerated the burning of the demon's soul, who declared that Bai would not be forgiven. At that moment, Thrush was terrified. Bai had opened the gate to the underworld and warned that not even his boss would save him. The demon agonized, saying he wouldn't accept this, but he was already being thrown into the gate, and with that, he was sealed for eternity. Iceland was shocked that not even the demon emperor stood a chance against Bai. Meanwhile, Sai Liu was agonizing due to the miasma. She lunged at Bai to attack, and Iceland warned him to be careful. But Sai Liu went to bite him. He let her bite and told her to drink as much as she needed. After a lot of blood was drawn, the curse was consumed. She woke up, and he asked her if she had slept well. Embarrassed, she apologized for the attack, but he said it wasn't her fault. The curse had remained on Bai, but he knew it was just residual power from that guy. He activated his healing powers and easily removed it. The system said that evil power had been detected and he would undergo a cleansing. Inside the void of consciousness, the demon thought he could kill Bai because he had sacrificed himself for his apprentice. However, since he was inside Bai's body, he was attacked by the system and ceased to exist. Sometime later, on Mount King Moon, Sai Liu woke up and realized she had to become stronger so she wouldn't depend so much on others. Iceland came out of the bath and asked if her eye was okay. She had gone blind in one eye and joked that now she was a cyclops. She got a slap on the head to stop making jokes. Angrily, she lay down, saying it was her fault that she ended up like that and apologized, promising it wouldn't happen again. The next day, everything was back to normal on the mountain. The only thing that happened was that Sai Liu caught a cold. She said she was fine, but the cicada explained it was because she used ice power. Bai said it was okay, and that he would take her to the art department tomorrow. They had hot springs that helped with recovery. A day later, they arrived there. Sai Liu took a bath to recover her energy while Bai talked with Master Moon. She wanted to tease him, but he was more concerned about why she had called him there. She said he had been boring lately and asked him to take the girls to a secret realm for training. Bai said he wasn't fit because he was a cripple who couldn't do anything. However, Moon knew very well how strong he was. She said he could even take Sai Liu as she would receive many resources. Just then, someone opened the door while the chief whispered in his ear that he was sweet. Sai Liu grabbed the chief and ran away while the girls from the art department congratulated the master. At the peak, Sai Liu had learned a new technique that Bai taught her. She was excited, but he told her to be careful because it required a lot of practice. Otherwise, she could be consumed by the spirit of the flame. But the dense junior had already been consumed and clung to him, asking if he didn't like his disciple. Bai said she was affected by the spirit of fire and needed to relax, but she only wanted to know if she was beautiful. The master said she was but activated a talisman and cleared her mind. With that, she went to sleep and the poor guy relaxed. Truly, he had a lot of sympathy for this babe. The next day, in the secret realm that the Master of Arts had asked him to go to, he informed all the girls that they would carry location and protection talismans. He advised Sai Liu to be careful and not hunt dangerous treasures like last time. But she was embarrassed, remembering when she had been dominated by the fire cultivation. She left, murmuring, and Bai thought she seemed a bit unfocused. Just then, a girl entered, saying there was a problem outside. They went to see and some people were arriving. It was Kang Mingxiu, and well, you know how she is, right? All of them were hourglass shaped, so there's no need to say more. The girls belonged to the Palace of Ecstasy. In common language, that means a brothel. The master of the department told her to leave, but she said she was being disrespectful to her former aunt and pulled out a flute from the mountains. She sent the flute towards the girl who tried to protect herself, but her shield was shattered. At that moment, a green aura absorbed the flute and pulled it away. Kang Mingxiu was confused about how she lost control of her artifact. It flew to the hands of someone who said she was being very disobedient and that it belonged to him. Both of them were shocked as Bai began playing the flute. Everyone noticed he had already mastered the artifact. Angry, Kang Mingxiu attacked him. However, the flute's aura easily repelled the attack, throwing her back. Bai warned that this was her only warning, and everyone ran away. He handed the flute to one of the girls, and the others clamored for gifts too. Sai Liu returned to the room to prepare, jealous of the attention. With the entrance open, people began entering the secret realm. He told Sai Liu not to feel insecure because he would go with her this time to ensure nothing went wrong. She was unusually shy, perhaps recalling what had happened the previous day, though he had used a talisman to make her forget. From the top of the mountain, a snake was watching. It was one of the girls from the Palace of Ecstasy keeping an eye on things. She said they would enter too and take the treasures. As Bai crossed the portal, he received a mission to seal an ancestral ghost. Inside the realm, an explosion occurred. Tua was fighting one of the girls from Ecstasy. She was attacked and tried to defend herself with the flute. However, she was powerless against the density of the enemy. But suddenly, a golden fish pierced her chest and she fell dead. Bai had saved her and told her to be careful. There were many dangerous things around. He asked where the others were and she said many had died in the explosion. As they were leaving, Hu asked what that flying creature was. He activated his aura and caught it. He explained that it was a soul-sucking bee and probably someone in this place was collecting the souls of the dead. In another part of the realm, Sai Liu was absorbing lightning energy from the sky. Aislinn told her to be more careful, asking why she was trying to evolve by absorbing heavenly punishment. Sai Liu wanted to say it was because of her master, but felt embarrassed. Suddenly, someone appeared, saying they didn't expect to find them there. It was the people from the Palace of Ecstasy, thankfully covered up. Sai Liu Lin laughed and asked if they really wanted to die like that. However, Kang Mingxiu warned that she was only hiding her power to follow the plan. Something descended from the sky and a pillar hit the ground. Sai Liu Lin realized it contained demonic power. She tried to say something to Sai Liu Wei, but was hit in the face, causing an explosion. She was thrown to the other side of a shattered mountain. Almost losing consciousness, she said they needed to call Bai to deal with this. In the next scene, Sai Liu Wei was waking up tied to the ceiling. She asked what they were doing, and Kang Shu was attaching a bunch of seals to the ceiling. The other girls from the art department were also tied up. Aislinn was laughing maniacally. Sai Liu asked if she was betraying the master. She smiled, saying she was adapting to the situation. Sai Liu asked why she was tied up like an idiot if that was the case. Meanwhile, Kang Shuwei asked if that number of souls wasn't enough. The soul refining master was there, looking more like the bomb refining master with 15 kilos of abs. She asked why the refining was taking so long. Kang Shuwei said she didn't need to worry, there were plenty of souls. She told the guys nearby to bring more disciples. Sai Liu Wei asked the cicada to do something and it said it was only observing for now. As the guys went to touch the girls, a lightning bolt pushed everyone back, knocking them out. Kang Shu asked a rabbit girl beside her for help, but she refused, saying she wasn't in the mood. She said she had already helped defeat the cicada and didn't want to do anything else. The scared guy from the Soul Palace asked what the problem was. He raised his arm and began pulling the souls out of everyone from the Palace of Ecstasy. Kang Mingxiu tried to activate a power, but the muscle girl told her to stay still or she would receive punishments. At that moment, the scared guy said the ancestor was arriving. The chain broke and a bunch of skeletons fell to the ground. A hand emerged, saying it had been 1,000 years since this person last appeared in this place. Seeing the green energy, Sai Liu recognized it as the entity from 1,000 years ago. And what rose was the demon of the immortal land. The soul-refining people paid their respects while Kang Shu didn't understand what was happening. The demon looked to the side and said there was another high-quality soul beginning to absorb Kang Shu's soul. However, the rabbit girl cut off the absorption and Kang Shu took the opportunity to activate a portal and escape. The cicada was going to save Sai Liu and the rabbit girl took advantage to absorb her as well. With that, the three escaped through the portal, leaving the poor girl behind. The Earth Demon commented that times had changed if someone so weak dared to flee from him. Tremble Luna explained that the soul refining had been suffering in recent years and begged for mercy. The demon angrily tried to absorb the energy of all the girls. However, the cicada was protecting them with all she had, wondering where the Dan Bai was as she couldn't hold on much longer. Suddenly, an explosion occurred and an axe fell to the ground. Obviously, the rascal had arrived. Just seeing him made the demon sweat. Bai asked if he had never seen a protagonist before. Violet wanted to know who that guy was. The demon was confused, not able to calculate the protagonist's power. Bai descended and for the first time picked up the axe, warning them to prepare to be chopped. The demon activated the soul called Banner and said Bai would beg for his life. A lot of vines attacked Bai, who was a professional at dealing with that. He just activated a talisman that created a dragon, consuming everything. The old man asked who was to use such a powerful talisman without having any power. Bai said he was his father, here to teach a lesson. The demon angrily sent another attack formation. He got trapped and the old man said he would die now. However, Bai just activated a shield and noticed that the water was suppressing some of his powers. The black energy went to attack him and he activated a talisman to defend himself. But the attack wasn't stopped and he was hit in multiple points. The demon said that inside there, his talismans were useless. He wanted to see how long his golden body would last. Bai asked the system what that was. The system told him to be careful as he was inside the old man's realm where the guy was strengthened. The old man's soul said Bai must be going insane and that death awaited him. However, Bai freed himself and struck the old man with his axe. The old man fell to the corner, wondering how he was hurt. His power began to dissipate as he asked what kind of axe that was. The lazy Bai said it was just the little axe he used to chop wood. The old man was confused, but it was too late. Bai had cut him in half, saying the old man was no different from wood. Outside, the core was disintegrating. Iceland was immobilizing Violet, who said she would kill her as soon as the ancestor emerged. Then a flash of light filled the room. Bai walked out calmly, holding the old man's head. Everyone was shocked, saying it was impossible. But Bai just threw the head into the lap of the fool, who then exploded and turned into a puddle. Seeing this, Violet clung to Bai, saying she would do anything for him. But he just pushed her away and told them to send her to the academy for interrogation. He then saw Iceland fleeing and asked where Liu was. She tried to explain that Liu had been taken by an elder and that she couldn't block the portal. One of the girls from the art department mentioned she was likely taken to the Palace of Ecstasy. Bai seemed to know the place. Elsewhere, Liu was waking up. She was surrounded by chains with talismans and recognized the person in front of her. With a green face, the creature said it had been a long time and called Liu by her past life's name, Radiant Fairy Immortal. In a flashback, Liu was talking to a friend about how they would strengthen themselves. Liu said she had an epiphany and received a fortune from the heavens. Her friend asked what she was talking about, and Liu turned, saying they were doing everything wrong. She pulled something out from within herself and said those were the 3 bodies, a Taoist belief that says these 3 bodies lead humans to death. Her friend said she was going crazy, as those were her origin spirits. However, Liu was already being consumed by the power and asked what she knew. She threw a blade that pierced her poor friend. She was going mad, claiming she would finally ascend to immortality. Her friend tried to explain that she was actually being dominated by a demon. At that moment, Liu started to lose her sanity, questioning why she was still human. She remembered the pearls she had broken and realized one was missing. Her friend had stolen it, saying she would find a solution to save her. But then the sky was taken over by a half moon. Liu asked if they hadn't promised each other to achieve immortality together. But if that was the case, she would have to be hunted down. She activated a moon technique that consumes the sun. Half of the continent was engulfed in shadow. Her friend, who had hidden underwater, activated a shell technique to protect herself and attacked with a water dragon. However, Liu easily tore it in half. The shell and the mountains in that place were shattered. As her friend fled, she said the weapon Liu carried was too dangerous, but Liu said she wouldn't run as they were friends for 1,000 years. She activated a stellar explosion. It began to consume the sun and headed towards her poor friend. Her friend activated a yin-yang technique to protect herself and asked what had consumed Liu. But since it was like this, neither of them would ascend to immortality. She absorbed Liu's spiritual core, starting a battle between their powers. Sometime later, her friend announced she had won. Her name was Man. Liu asked why she didn't want to ascend. Her friend said she was doing it only because they were friends. She would bring her back to normal, even if only a part of her. When she regained consciousness, she realized her friend had already moved on to the next life. These were memories Liu had forgotten. Seeing this, she cried, saying it was impossible. Someone appeared behind her, asking if she finally remembered, and she said it wasn't her. She turned angrily and announced that a like on this video had to be left, folks. Guys, this work is going to be a lot of work for Mamoru. I'm going to have to become the king of smoke, right? Because, you know, the warriors were very well fed. I didn't think they were that powerful. They overdid it a bit with the Sugoi. But this work has a lot of chapters left, so I can make a couple more videos. So if it does well, we'll continue it. To make sure you don't miss the next part, activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.